Hello. I'm making another video because I don't have anyone to talk to. So I decided to make videos. This is dandelion leaf. That's how they look like. And they taste very good. You can make a salad with that. And the daisies, they taste good too. They taste a little bit like horseradish, just a little bit mild, but much milder, but in that direction. It's very important to ground yourself every single day on the earth. Very, very important to do. Delicious. This here should counteract the assault of the chemtrails that we have to put up with. And I hope that Doge Governmental Efficiency Group and the FBI can crack down on those people that are doing this, that are causing these contrails or chemtrails. I really hope so. I don't like this here. Better light from here. Okay. Like this. Okay. It's an uneven ground, so this isn't working very well. Maybe like this. Like this. Okay. Oh, is that nice? And even the residue of the chemtrail is forming itself into confetti and many different hearts. This is wonderful. Forming itself into hearts. Huh. That means that the blue god is protecting us, no matter what they're doing. That is what that means. And I'm infinitely grateful for that. Thank you, blue god. Infinitely much. I want to talk some more about the subject that I discussed yesterday, which is how do we deal with sudden impulses of strong emotions in regards to dealing with other people. Can we try to leave other people alone? Leave other people out of it. Deal with this on your own. You can have someone listening to you, but don't project anything. Don't attach yourself to that person. If you have someone nice who's willing to sit with you, in primal therapy we called it buddy sessions. when Birgit and I, we would sit for each other and or also hold hands or even pet the other person's head or hair to give the other person love and comfort that they so desperately need, and then let the other person just ramble on and talk and not say anything versus saying the wrong thing. So that's what we were assigned to do for each other when we don't know 100% how to dig in deeper with the other person. So I know today, totally. Back then I wasn't so completely sure with other people, and I was also way too deep in my own mental illness and my own problems and the stuff I was thinking about. So I was too deep in my own self-centered world, of course, of trauma and dealing and trying to figure out how to deal with it, to even remotely dive into someone else's world of trauma and understand them. So it would be better for me than to just sit there and listen, just like a pastor or a priest would do in a confession booth, right? So that's a buddy session basically, but it's quite an anonymous, that's a hard word, anonym. I know it in German. Anonymous. It's an anonymous situation, the confession booth, while the buddy session, where we sit for each other, we already know each other, we're already friends. We don't feel shame in front of each other. We're both exposing ourselves emotionally. So that's a better situation than a confession booth in a Catholic church or something. But the confession booth was still necessary and better than people not being able to talk at all about what was bothering them or about the terrible acts that they have created. And some people have done terrible acts and have regretted it later on. Those people still had a glimpse of compassion somewhere, and then they obviously that bothered them to be sitting on this truth and not knowing what to do, not how to proceed next. Can't tell anyone because they would be prosecuted or executed in the past, 100, 200 years ago. So they went to the confession booth, and the priest, minister, pastor, they were not allowed to release that information to anyone else. And then they had to be living with that information. And then maybe that guy's a monster, maybe he'll do something like this again. Then they're in a conflicted situation. So it's better primal therapy, buddy session. We're friends, we talk to each other about everything. And in some cases, people have murdered someone, they finally had to tell someone in a bar when they were a bit intoxicated with the truth serum called alcohol. And that's good that they would say it, that they will talk it out. And it's even better that the other person doesn't sit on it but goes straight to law enforcement and deals with that person, deals with that criminal. And we need a complete legal reform so that the people that are arrested are not shamed any further. They're already doing things out of a deep feeling of shame from childhood trauma and other things, as I mentioned many times. Ancestor DNA that compounds all together. Of course, their own trauma, the shaming that is going on from their parents. And all of them also have ancestor trauma. That adds to it. And then we have karmic trauma on top of that, okay? Which is going from one existence to another. And we can come back in completely different DNA. That has nothing to do with DNA. That has to do with our ghost, with our soul, with the core that we are, the core filament of the blue god that is trying to learn and experience. So that comes back in different forms, many different forms. In animals, different genders, even plants, even minerals, even crystals, particles, parts, even items. Okay, so why would a soul limit itself from any kind of existence and any kind of experience? There was a little girl. That's a real horrible story. I talked about it a couple of years ago. And I believe that story. I absolutely believe it. And the story I heard was only half of the story. The other half came to me intuitively. A girl on YouTube, she told a story about a doll she bought at a thrift store. A real old rag doll from 1800. Really worn out doll, and she said she didn't know why, but the doll called to her. The doll called to her to adopt her. So she had to go back. You couldn't forget about that doll. She had to go back, all the way back to the store. Drove miles, hundreds of miles, and back to that antique thrift store. She bought the doll, and the minute she had the doll in her car, she already felt some real heavy emotions. She didn't really know what it was. Overwhelming. And I know why the doll called to her and why she even was able to receive it, because she and the doll have pain on the same frequency, exact same pain. Trauma of childhood, sexual abuse, real severe. But the doll had it much worse, and people will laugh now. How can the doll experience childhood sexual abuse? It's just a doll made out of fabrics, right? Wait. Wait. A soul of a person can come back and go straight into a doll. And this doll happened to be the doll that I think the grandmother made for her little granddaughter of 5 years. And I think the grandmother died, and that little girl didn't have anyone to take care of her. I think that little girl became an orphan at a very early age. That's the intuition I get. But she had the doll that she was hanging onto, that rag doll from her grandmother. Oh, this is heavy. And she was abandoned somewhere. No one took her into their house. And she got into the wrong hands, and a guy raped her and murdered her under a bridge. And people later found her and the doll next to her. Real tragic. The girl went into the doll. Ever since. The girl couldn't let go. So she went into the doll. 'Cause that's all she had. That little bit of love from her grandmother. It's a horrible story. Horrible. This despair and this shock happening to a person or any being that can leave someone in so-called bardo, where they are not ready to move on. So she was just going straight into the doll. But then she became the doll, so then it was kind of like no longer really bardo. She found her home there. For, I don't know, 150 years or 160 years, until that girl saw her in the antique thrift store, and the doll telepathically called to her and said, we have trauma on the same frequency, you have to adopt me, because I feel lost, I feel lonely. And she went back, she bought the doll, brought the doll home, and she said that the doll had moved on her own in her living room. And she saw the doll from a lying position, sitting up. There's a lot of, when that happens, then you know there is a ghost and there is a soul in it that is very restless. That needed help. And I couldn't forget about this doll. And one night at the other house, I was lying in bed and crying over this and seeing the whole story. Suddenly, the doll told me the whole story. And I said, girl, I'm here with you. I am here for you. You can go home now. You can go home, back into the sky. It's okay. You can leave the doll. The doll will find another little girl to take care of her. Send that doll love and make the doll protect the next little girl from something like this. You can go into heaven and you are safe. You can rest there now for a long time. For as long as it takes until you come back in any form that you want to experience. You're safe now. And together with me, with my tears, we both cried it out. and the doll went into heaven. Telling this story because I want men to understand what they are doing to a little child like Hunter Biden or Bill Gates or Jeffrey Epstein or Prince Andrew, those people that we know have done it. Okay? It's already out there. I want these people to understand, fully understand, what goes in to this unimaginable situation. What kind of trauma and terror goes into this? They think it's just fun. They think that's their recreation time, right? Not for the little girl. And the younger the little girl, the worse is the trauma. And I have been misused at a very early age. That's why when my therapist, Leslie, at the center in LA, I had just gotten there. It was 1992, I was 26. I didn't speak English very well. I didn't have a very large vocabulary. I had my Langenscheid's dictionary pocketbook with me at everywhere I went. And I also had a notebook in which I wrote down the translations of different words that I desperately needed to find. But with my rather bad English, I was sitting there in group therapy, and we were all therapists and trainees to become therapists, about 100 people or 80 people altogether. And Leslie was speaking out in group therapy. And she was standing there in the middle of the group, and we were all scattered around, sitting on cushions and with pillows and with our Kleenex box, listening to whoever spoke out and needed to talk. And she started to talk about how she breaks down crying and she hates it. Whenever she looks at a magazine, fashion magazine or something, and there's suddenly a commercial for like baby powder or something like this, or baby cream, toddler accessories, diapers, and there's a little baby, like a half-year-old toddler, sitting in a diaper with the back towards the camera. And she said this image of a little toddler with her back towards the camera, naked back, baby marzipan skin back, and looking in a different direction and being totally at the mercy to the adults and playing with a toy or something. This image, and I cry because it affects me too. And when she talked about this, I was completely on edge, because I was like, oh my God, I can relate. And I started crying too. And I feel like this with all animals, with all baby animals. And Leslie was in foster care as a child. She was given up for adoption at a very early age, like 1 year old or something. That's real traumatic. And she never felt at home anywhere, really. Never had the love she needed, the unconditional mother love. I talked about it yesterday too. And when she sees a baby like this, with the back turned towards the camera person, she feels like there's danger. There's danger for that baby. She needs to protect that baby. I feel exactly the same way. And that's because she must have had something really bad happen at a very early age. And she said she believes that something horrible happened. She has nightmares and stuff about it. And I have nightmares. I've been having nightmares recently now. Last night even. Waking Paul up, it's really bad. Paul says that when I wake up from a nightmare, sometimes I don't even wake up. I wake him up. Sometimes when he's sleeping in another room even. He says it sounds like I'm being tortured to death. It sounds so bad. You can't even imagine. It sounds so creepy, he says. So that's trauma coming to the surface, okay, for sure. And that's what it feels like to an infant, animal, or child when they're being raped or misused or tortured in some way. It is extreme horror, extreme torment, and extreme trauma. I'm making video. Put the harness on first. Yeah. Yes, go for a walk. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Be careful, and Blue God protects them. Yes, I'm always worried about the baby dog. Always worried. Because he's my baby. My innocent baby. And because of this relating to Leslie and what she said, and that she reacted to the baby like this because of her trauma, then I realized all these puzzle pieces are fitting together with that for my life as well. There were a lot of girls at the center that were misused and abused later as teenagers. That is not near as bad as being abused at a very early age, like under 1 year old. That is the absolute worst there is. It doesn't get any worse. And there's another woman, Annika Lucas. She was abused by David Rockefeller. Also in a cult similar to Jeffrey Epstein's, but in Germany. That was in Germany. And David Rockefeller from the United States was there all the time. So it's like another Epstein broker, human broker type of thing, but farther away. He had to travel a bit farther. And they sold her to him as a muse or lifetime hooker. They wanted to make something out of her. They wanted to make this singer out of her, and a spy, also political spy, wanted to make out of her. They knew she was highly intelligent. Yes, go ahead. Yes, going for a walk? Yes. Yes, that's gonna be nice. Okay, that's gonna be good. Going for a walk? Yes. Blue God protects her. Yes, he does. Oh yes, that is such a beautiful chest harness. Is that Now, I recommend chest harnesses. They are the best because when the dog pulls hard, you're not hurting the neck. Okay? So you anchor the leash in on the back of the chest harness. And that the other day was tethered to a bungee leash at the van. I was there with him, but I tethered him on it because I can't hold him when a cat comes over. So cat came over and he stared and stared and stared, and the cat stared and stared and stared, and then after staring for a while he just flew over to the cat. But because he was tethered to the back of the harness, he flipped over backwards onto his back. But they're very strong dogs, and they can do a somersault like that without any problems. So, and I said, yeah, that's what happens when you go after kitty cats. You don't want to do that. So I was glad I had him tethered to that bungee leash on the van. But I was there with him. I would never leave him unattended. I'd never tether my dog for any length of time. That's only for security purposes, when we're unloading the van or packing something up, or when we're getting somewhere else where we don't have any fence or anything. So this is very practical, because he darts out of the van and then I can't hold him sometimes, and he's already yanked me over. He is like so incredibly strong, you cannot imagine. He yanked me over many times, and he's yanked Paul over too, even though I weigh like 4 times as much as he does. It's incredible, the strength he has. He has supernatural strength. Not a retirement dog, again, Don't reach for a pit bull, pity dog, pity mix, Amstaff, American Staffordshire, American Bully, Bulldog, Mastiff. Don't get one of those if you are old and tired and retired. Okay, so don't do it. Not a good idea. He's also run into me many times. He has bruised me. He has bruised my rib cage even. He's knocked me down, and I twisted my knee and my hips, and sports injuries I had where I couldn't even walk for months. Really intense, heavy beating. So not the ideal dog for anyone who wants to have a relaxed, chilled out life. I wanted a European Basset Hound, but obviously they are not easy to come by when you are looking for an adoption dog. Obviously, we found one that was pure luck and a present from the infinite cosmos. That was Papa Dog before him. Okay, he was with us for 3 years because he was already old and had already had lung cancer and tumors. So, and we gave him an extra long time. With other people, he would not have lived that long. So, because of the holistic treatment, we managed to help him constantly heal and prolong his life, so until eventually he got very old, and then it catches up again, of course, with him. There was the lung problems and with the wheezing and all of this, but it was already getting better. But when they're getting too old, obviously, then that problem can easily come back. But yeah, he was almost 11, and so that's, for European Basset, they're pretty large dogs. That's a pretty decent age, even with illness and all of that. So, fully European Basset Hound that I found on Google from foster parents. Huh. Now, that's the story behind him. It's a little bit dubious. I don't know what to believe there. But they told me he was a stud. He was a stud dog and he won prizes. So dog show prizes. So a prize-winning stud dog. And once he's old, after he has made many babies and made them rich, once he's old, they just want to give him away. They want to get rid of him because he can't serve them anymore. That makes me very sad. I was just over the moon happy that I found him, because I've always wanted to have a European Basset Hound in my life, and it was incredible to have him in my life. I miss him forever. I still cry over him. It feels like I've lived with him for much longer. I think that we also have a karma and soul history. I think that he's been my son in a previous lifetime. And the dog before him, we also rescue adopted, and that was a pure breed European Great Dane. Now, a Ukrainian, Polish bloodline. Those are top-notch. Those are the world's top-notch Great Danes. And they just adopted him to us for free, because they were from British Columbia, and they came over with the ferry boat. That was the girl holding the baby Kenny in her arms. And I was in awe when I saw him. I said, this is the blue god. That is the blue god in dog form. Okay. So, and that's Gautama Buddha, and the papa was our child in a previous lifetime. That's what it feels like, very strongly. You can laugh about all you want, but that's what it feels like. And maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe this is all complete. This is batshit crazy. But that's what it feels like. And I cry over that. I cry over that a lot. Over that situation. About how much I miss them. And both of them are buried next to each other at the other house, in the garden. And every day I'm there, I go over there and I talk to them and tell them how much I miss them. Yeah, I wanted to find another pure breed Euro Basset, but the odds are like 1 in a trillion, so I couldn't find one. They had mixed ones, but I didn't want a mixed one. I think the American Basset Hounds have, at some point, they had Beagle mixed in with it. That's what made them have longer legs, and they have skinnier legs. So the European Basset Hounds, they're like 25% larger, and they have extremely thick tree trunk legs and shorter legs and humongous legs and humongous feet. They have the feet of a real large dog, like an extra large dog. They're incredibly beings, are they? They're like sea lions. Amazing. Gorgeous. Works of art are there in living form. and I'm probably most likely not going to find another one. And people on Facebook told me, if you want one, you have to get one from a breeder. And that's what I didn't want, because I was almost going to get one from Gretchen. But then she said that the mother Carly was having a litter, and was my favorite, was their favorite Garth, and they would have been amazing. The problem is that Gretchen had already gone through a C-section multiple times, and I just cannot stand for it. I was almost gonna buy one for $2,000. But then she said, no, that's Carly, and Carly, I know, because I followed the story, and I've seen that Carly had gone through many C-sections. And they saw that like that's totally normal, it's a normal procedure, and that's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, there is everything in the world wrong with that. Okay. To cut a dog open over and over and over again. If you cut a dog open to take the puppies out because she just can't give birth because the birth canal is too narrow or whatever. They're also way overbred, those dogs. Then not all of them have to do C-sections. Some of them don't, but some of them do. And if you have a mother that had to have a C-section birth, then you do not breed her again, okay? You have to neuter, you have to spaying process. She has to be spayed. She has to be, the fallopian tubes have to be sewn, or whatever they do, or they take the uterus out, okay? So I think that's what they do. It's absolutely unethical to breed a mother is a second time after she had to have C-section birth. Okay, it's absolutely cruel. Okay, I sent Gretchen the information from animal rights activists that were trying so strongly to get that outlawed. And I sent her the information of this one dog that was thrown onto a garbage dump place. A mother dog from a puppy mill. Another breed, I forgot now what kind of breed, a smaller dog with unimaginable scar tissue already on her belly and the entire abdomen, because of C-sections over and over and over and over and over. They can give birth up to 3 times per year, and then living in some kind of kennel and not even getting out, and just being bred like this and having C-sections over and over and over and over again for profit. That's just unimaginably cruel. It has to be outlawed. Okay? All of this is important. All of these things are important. It doesn't matter what subject I discuss, it's all important. It's infinitely important. Puppy mills and dog breeding like this, like reckless dog breeding, needs to be outlawed. People need to people need to go through a school first, like other people go and learn about medicine and anatomy or the legal system. That's how a dog breeder should go through a school of 8 years. Okay, that's what's necessary before they can be allowed to handle something so vulnerable. so that they really learn how to deal with this properly, ethically, and where the dogs have it good, where the dogs don't suffer, where they have a good life, where the mama dog maybe gets bred 2 or maximally 3 times in her entire life, okay, with 3 years in between or 2 years in between. And if they had to do a C-section, never breed her again, neuter her, spay her after that, so that she can't get pregnant again. That's how it needs to be done. That's a reasonable way to deal with this. Very important, all of this. Gosh, I wished I could reform the world. I can turn the world into a paradise. But every time I was on Facebook in a dog group, of any dog group, and I would say something like this, what I just said in the video, they would kick me out immediately. They always did. Because these people only see dollar signs. They only see money. They want to make money on cost of innocent beings. That's what they want to do. That's really sad. For me, it is about ethics. For me, it's about love. This existence here is about love and nothing else. Okay, so I live for that. I live for justice, and I live for making it good for other beings. That's what I'm here for. I'm the grandmother of all living beings. Okay? And I want to be here, and I want to help as much as I can to make the world a better place. So I guess I'm getting cold now. I'll talk about stuff another time. Take care. I can't see the mouse. There is the mouse. Okay.